Trend adjustment. A lot of you maybe heard about this last year, or, took trend adjustment on your policy, but last year was the first year for trend adjustment. It was expanded for 2013. I'll show you some maps here in just a few minutes. Available only on your individual plans of insurance, so your yield protection, revenue protection, those types of policies. It is not available for your group policies, your GRIP, GRP, those types of plans. Trend adjustment rates are updated every year, and just a slight change from 12 to 13. So basically, what does trend adjustment mean? Over the last, say, 25, 30 years, we've seen an upward trend in yield. So what they've done is they've pulled in information from the last 30 years. University of Illinois, they partnered last year with, say, Illinois corn growers to push this information through. So basically that means 10 to 11 bushel increase in your corn database as far as your APH for corn for last year, and roughly the same for this year. About 3 to 4 bushels for soybeans. Now that's on an average 10-year database. If you've got yields where, let's say you go back 20 years, so every other year in your database, then you're going to see roughly twice that. As far as cost, it's a minimal cost for what you get in increased coverage. Just to give you an idea, out of all the policies that Lee and I deal with, all of them took trend adjustment last year. We didn't have one policy that we didn't add trend adjustment to. So, a lot of the guys from U of I, as well as a lot of agents that I work with, and Lee and I both, we basically think that's a no-brainer to take this on your policy. So, where were the trend adjustments in 2012? Now these, you can see here, it's going to show you what the factors are. So what this means, as far as the darker color, means that the higher the rate. So instead of being maybe 10 or 11 bushel, they might see a 12 to 14 bushel, depending on where they're at. Each county is different. Each county has their own rate. So where are we at for 13? So you can see, we go, basically Nebraska and West Ohio for 12. For 13, we've got a lot more counties that are involved in this, and the rates are updated. So last year, I'll flip back here real quick, the highest was 2.5, and for 13, we've got some counties that are 3.3 trend factor. Now I'll show you the soybeans, same scenario. This part of the state, we're seeing anywhere from, 0.4 to 0.6, but mainly we're going to be in the high point, close to 0.5 for beans. And again, here's the map for soybeans. So now here are the trend adjustment factors you're going to see for East Central Illinois. Champaign County 1.82, beans 0.47, and so on. Now, next thing is, how does that affect my yields or my APH? So I've got roughly an average, I made these numbers up, but they work real well in an average database that we see. So you can look at a year from, say, 2003, let's say the actual is 195, with that trend factor of 1.82, the yield is 10 years old, so they're going to take the number of years it is old times the factor, so you're going to add 18.2 bushel, and now you have a 213 bushel yield to go in your database. And they do that for each year, so you can see 5-year-old yield, they're going to add 1.82 times 5 and add that to your 199, now it's a 208. So as you can see down at the bottom here, the averages of the actual yield would be 179.7. Again, that's around a nearest whole number, so about 180. And your trend makes it about 10 bushel increase, so now you're at 190. Now the next slide I want to show you is how did that affect your claims for 2012. So first I'll show you if you didn't have trend adjustment, what that would look like. So let's say you had an 85% revenue protection policy, 180 bushel APH, and let's say for easy figuring, 100 bushel yield you raised in 12. And so basically 180 times 85%, your guarantee is 153 bushels an acre. You raised 100, and the harvest price was $7.50, which is what it came in last fall. So 53 bushels short times $7.50, your claim was not quite $400 an acre in that scenario. Now, if you had trend adjustment, now we're using 190, so now your same yield in 12, 100 bushel, so now your new guarantee is 161 and a half times 750, so now your loss is $461 an acre. So you're going to see, $63, almost $64 an acre over just say 500 acres, an additional $32,000. So it really made a big difference on the claims that were paid in 12. Moving on, the T yields. I talked a little bit about changes. Now you do have a sheet in front of you that shows all the T yields for 2013 updated. There's corn on one side, soybeans on the other, and southern part of the state they have actual double crop. The counties that do have insurable double crop beans, those will show up on there as well. But basically what this means is that if you don't have years of yields to plug into your database, they're going to use what they call a T yield. So let's say you have not farmed in, Piatt County and you're just in Champaign. If you pick up a farm in Piatt County, they're going to say, okay, you've never farmed there before, so you're going to get 100% of the T to give you a guarantee. So in that example, you're going to get 178 as a database to use that to figure your guarantees for that year. So these are, again, Central Illinois T yields. Now, we have a lot of people say, well, let's say I had 50 bushel corn last year. How does that going to affect me going forward? And I'll talk about that in just a second. What I'm going to show you now is yield adjustment. So this is an election on your policy, just like trend adjustment. And basically all the policies that we set up, I always recommend having yield adjustment on the policy. And what that means is that the lowest it's going to let your yields go if you have a bad year is 60% of that county T yield. So in 2012, Champaign County's T yield was 167. 60% of that is 100 bushel. Instead of being 100 bushel for 2013 yield, they're going to plug in 106. It's a little bit, it's going to help you a little bit, but every little bit helps as far as guarantees. So again, it doesn't allow your APH to go under 60% of the county T yield. And they always, if you look at your databases, they're always going to have a lowercase a, which is what they call a yield descriptor, and that will be identified by that lowercase a, means it's not an actual yield, where your other yields that are in the database, where you had an actual yield, will be a capital A. So if you didn't have yield adjustment for 2013, this is what your database may look like. So you can see here, these are all the capital A's, these are actual yields. In this scenario, your APH would be 175 if you had 50 bushel actual yield. Now, you go and you have yield adjustment on your policy. Now they're going to plug in 106 with that lowercase a, and now you see a 6 bushel difference with versus without that yield adjustment. So you want to make sure that's on your policy.